welcome to Easy Ear training video number 4 of our video series. Now in this video we're going to look at that cycle of keys again in the 1 octave. But this time we're going to use it in a musical context and pull apart some tunes and then use another way of helping you develop hearing the changes from 1/4 to 1/5. So let me get stuck into a song. Here is the 1 chord, and I'm staying on the 1 chord. Move down to the 4 chord, and I'm back up to the 1 chord. Here is the 5, and I'm going to stop right there. So basically, here's our 1 chord, we move down to the 4 chord, back up to the 1 chord, then down to the 5 chord. Now, when we're moving from the 1 chord down to the 4 chord, okay, we're going 1 to 4, but we're not actually moving in the interval of a perfect fourth. We're moving in the interval of the perfect fifth. And the same with the 5 chord, we went from the 1 chord down to the 5 chord, that is actually a perfect fourth. Now let me explain that on the keyboard. So here we are on the keyboard. So if we have our D major scale, we've got D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So well, here's our 1, the root note of our 1 chord. Now if we need our 4 chord, right? We need our 4 chord. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, there's the root note of our 4 chord, which is going to be a G. Now the problem here is we didn't go up to the 4 chord in that last tune, we went down to the 4 chord. Okay, so we need to invert this perfect fourth interval. Okay, we need to move this G down an octave, so it's now lower than the D. So there's our interval now. We're going down to the 4 chord, but that is a perfect fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there is a perfect fifth interval. Okay, the same with our 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's our A. We need to invert that, so we need to invert this perfect fifth interval and move the A down an octave. Okay, so now we get A up to the D, or D down to the A, and here's a perfect fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's a perfect fourth. So if we invert a perfect fourth, it becomes a perfect fifth. If we invert a perfect fifth, it becomes a perfect fourth. The other thing is, when we're looking going through that cycle, we went C up to a G, okay? So C up a fifth to a G, down a fourth to a D, up a fifth to an A, down a fourth to an E, up a fifth to a B, okay? Down a fourth to a F sharp, down a fourth to a C sharp, okay? Up a fifth to an A flat or G sharp, and etc. etc. So we're going up a fifth, down a fourth, and we can do it the other way. C, down to a G, which is a fourth, and then up a fifth to the D, down a fourth to the A, up a fifth to the E, etc. etc. So it's getting the movement of that bass note, of that root note, going below and above to each chord. Let's have a look at one more chord progression. Okay, so here's another chord progression. We've got chord moving now to the 4 chord. Here's the 5 chord back down to the 1. Okay, so what we did here was we went from the 1 chord up to the 4 chord. Then we moved up a tone to the 5 chord, back down to the 1. Don't worry too much about the tone, it's just moving up 2 frets or a tone. So here what we've got here, we're just moving up. That's a perfect fourth. And if we go from 1 chord to the 5 chord, that's a perfect fifth. So if we're moving up to the interval, it's still called a perfect fourth or a perfect fifth if we're moving to the 4 chord or the 5 chord. But if we're moving down, we invert that interval. Okay? So now it's important to always go above and below. That's why we did that cycle within 1 octave. We're going down or up to the interval when we do it between 1 octave, and then when we shift it, we can change those intervals as well. So here's another way that you can get those chords happening. So going 1 chord up to the 4 chord, back down to the 1, up to the 5 chord. Okay, so that was in F, up to the B flat, down to the F, up to the C. So we can do that again here. If we go up to this F, down to the 4 chord of B flat, back up to the F, down to the 5 chord of C. So if we did this in all 12 keys, going 1, 5, 1, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, etc., etc., and then going 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, in all 12 keys, you'll get used to hearing that interval moving up to the 4 chord and down to the 4 chord, up to the 5 chord and down to the 5 chord. You'll really get used to hearing that. The other thing is start working out tunes, looking at blues tunes, country tunes, old soul tunes, bluegrass. It's even in pop music. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord. So like I said in the first video, I got a cassette tape and filled it with all the blues tunes I knew that were 1, 4, 5, and just listened to that cassette over and over and over and over again. I mean, I was working in a factory at the time, which helped me pass the time, but you can put that in your car, a playlist on your Walkman when you go for a jog or something like that, just so you're constantly listening to these tunes and you're taking note of the movement of the 1 chord to the 4 or the 1 chord to the 5 chord. Okay, so that will really help you. In the next video, we'll start looking at the minor chords in the diatonic key. Okay, thank you.